Testes. I'm starting the Odysee stream right now.
Okay. Give me a second to start. Okay. That's hello. Okay.
Hello.
I just had to make sure all the volume was working.
See,
Okay,
get that
come on.
turned on. Share screen. Yep. Okay. And apparently Dave is out again.
Okay, we're live. I'm
Okay.
gonna start the intro
Yes.
now.
Three dudes on a Saturday, talking about the world today, laughing loud and making noise, sharing thoughts like little boys.
And we are live.
Why is Odyssey not? According to OBS, we're streaming, but
It takes a while.
I know, but it's
Okay.
I've been streaming since longer than you've had since you started the kick stream. Oh, here we go. Hopefully,
Okay, where
Odyssey is
is Odyssey? Okay.
okay.
We're live.
Okay, and audio record in 3, 2.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another episode of Those Three Dudes. I am Luke.
I'm John.
And I'm Sam.
No, you are not Sam.
No.
You are Murdoch. You are definitely Murdoch now.
Yeah, I mean, we just.
Holy shit, take off the glasses. Oh my god. Completely Murdoch. Now you just need a van, black and red van. God, it's been forever, guys.
About 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
It has been a rough one. I will say that. And Dave is still out because it is still a rough one on him. So, but hey, before I begin, let's talk about our affiliates of the day or of the week. Hold on one sec though. I gotta put something up to there. Another sound barrier. Okay. So affiliate of the week number 1. What website can you go and buy just about anything, Sam?
That'd be the good old jungle site, or known as Amazon.com. And you can go to our website, scroll down there, you'll see that Amazon affiliate link. Click that. We get a little bit more back in for the show, just a little bit, you know.
You don't pay anything extra. We make a very, very, very tiny percentage commission off of anything that you order through Amazon, as long as you start with our link. And honestly, today we're going to be talking about some different book recommendations, and that would be a good place to probably get some of these books if you are interested in them. So, our next affiliate of the day, or of the week, I should have had this queued up, but and I don't have anything of theirs right here, right this second, but btcpins.com, where you can get some really awesome stickers, some lapel pins, and just some random good stuff. They take all of their payment in Satoshis, and if you don't want to spend your own Bitcoin or Satoshis, get the Strike.me app and just link your bank account to it, and you can send them money, cash, US dollar, and it will convert over to Bitcoin Lightning Network Satoshis and pay for your order. And there is no tax consequences on your end by doing that. So those are our 2 affiliates of the week. Sam, or the Murdoch, formerly known as AR-10 Jeebus, what are you drinking this week?
More of the Blake's Hard Cider, X, Carhartt, Farm Link, whatever. It's just this limited time hard cider, Imperial hard cider.
Is he old enough to drink?
I don't know.
I would hope so.
I think we got to card him. No.
Yeah.
Funny story real quick. Funny story. Involving facial hair and the lack thereof. When I first switched positions, that's what she said. Switched positions in the company that I work for, because before I worked at the airport, not dealing with public at all, so I could dress how I wanted and have as much facial hair as I wanted and just randomly look like a scruffy nomad or hobo living on the street if I really wanted to. When I went into a driving position, it was against company policy to have anything but a porn mustache. So I had to shave, went to the training far from home, got trained, got qualified to try out for the position and stuff. Came back and was told the first week that I was supposed to report that they didn't have a manager available at the time to train me and to go back to the airport for the next week, and I'd start the following week. And I'm like, okay. So I went back to the airport, fully shaved. Nobody at the airport recognized me. In fact, it was Thursday of that week that I actually had like some friends that I worked with there go, Luke, is that really you? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, shit, we thought you were some new guy that had just transferred in here from some other airport, and we were wondering why they had you on all this stuff that required extra training. They're like, how old are you? And I told them, and they're like, you don't look that way without your beard. You look about 20 years younger.
That was basically how I walked in. I walked into, the shop I'm at and, just walked past. Most of the people didn't really even notice. They didn't pay attention. But
Shit, if I had seen you walk past me while I was delivering there or something, I wouldn't have even noticed.
It probably would have taken a second.
Yeah.
But the only thing that gave it away is I wear the same type of shirt every day, same hat. And as soon as I talked, they were like, oh.
Yeah. That's how people recognized it was me.
Well, the last time I had a clean shaven face was 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'm trying to remember. I think it was end of 2020 or beginning of 2021 that my company changed its policy and I was actually able to grow facial hair again. So, hey, Tactical Koala Santa down there, what are you drinking tonight?
My normal. Haven't been able to find.
Foster's?
Do I need to bring this out?
No. Please keep your pants on also. Or at least on while on camera. for those of you on the audio only, he's showing us the Vegemite.
We need to get a hold of him some VB.
Yes.
We need to find some distributor, because there is a few American distributors that have it.
They do?
But is it authentic?
Well, yeah, no, it's there's one or two American distributors that carry VB. Whether or not they actually, there's some places in America that can get it. It's just where.
Is it real though, or is it just in name only?
I would highly doubt. Why would you bring a name only over that's not even a popular name to anyone outside of the United States? Like
just for the fringe minority of Aussies that actually figured out how to stay on land, and Kiwis.
Because those would be probably the only people that would have any idea what VB is.
Once they got acquainted with gravity.
It's not available.
I've seen one distributor. There's a distributor that in the United States that does it. Now,
are you sure it's a distributor,
list.
or is it somebody that just went on vacation and brought?
No, it's like a Dan Henry. It's one of those like Dan Henry type companies.
Did you check Dan Henry?
No.
Well,
I did.
One of those companies like Dan Henry, isn't Dan Henry a decently big company?
Yeah, but there's like 3 of them.
Oh, fair enough.
Like 3 different ones. They list that they distribute it. Maybe they have the ability to, but no one fucking orders it, so they just don't even bother.
Well, no, I thought Dan Henry was a Budweiser distributor.
Among others.
Yeah, like a bigger, yeah. Anywho. So, shall we get into this week's topic? This week's topic, so for those of you on the live stream and that will listen to the audio, our title this week is The Dudes Book Club. So we are going to talk about books that we like, book series that we like and recommend, and also, just jumping around different genres. Honestly, I forgot to grab all the books that I wanted to talk about, and also I loaned one to my father-in-law earlier today. So, but I don't know how we want to do this per se. We've been talking about doing this topic now for the last 2 weeks, and that we've not been able to record, and then I don't know. Sam, give us a book that you. Let's start out with we'll just start out like going around.
Right. We'll start out with
one apiece first.
We'll start with an absolute classic. That it's not necessarily my favorite, but it's one that I think every man should read.
Okay.
That is Romance of the Three Kingdoms by Lao Guozhan. Romance of the Three Kingdoms covers the fall of the Han Dynasty of China, starting in 184 AD to 300 AD. It covers the Three Kingdoms period, and it was written in the early 1400s, and China was really, really good at keeping track of the historical records, but historical records for the layperson are relatively not easy to read. So Romance of the Three Kingdoms basically churches it up. So it is, these events happened, but in the order in which they happened or the exact details in which they happened may not be 100% accurate. And they also kind of fanaticize some things. There is some propaganda within it. Basically, there's themes of, hey, being an honorable man and along those lines in combat. But also,
sort of like guidelines and stuff.
Kind of. Not on the level of like a Sun Tzu, like Art of War. But it's also like a history thing where,
I'm already intrigued.
History has proven that eunuchs are a fucking problem, and Well, guess what happened to what caused the Han Dynasty to fall?
Unix.
A faction of eunuchs.
Damn this ballless men.
I mean, in all fairness, though, if someone were to chop my balls off, I might make it everyone's problem.
I mean, but that was sort of like the the point of making Unix was to pacify men, because most eunuchs were pacified once they had their balls removed.
Well, history has proven that not to be the case.
Or at least Chinese.
No, but it's pretty solid. It can be slightly difficult for some Americans to read, or natural English speakers to read.
Yeah.
That's why you look for like something like a Penguin or something others where it kind of gives an index on how to pronounce certain names. Like for example, one of them is Sao Sao. Well, it's CAO, but it's Sao Sao. Is one of the main of the he is part of the Wei.
Okay. And on that note, one of my being in a house full of kids, and also being away from home all the time and on the road so much, my favorite way to digest books or read books is through audiobooks. And audible.com or the Audible app through Amazon is like their Amazon's audiobook or audio, not music, I don't know what you would want to say, department. That's generally when I read books nowadays, it's audiobooks, just because I have very little time to sit down and actually read a physical book. But what will happen is I will read, or I will listen to an audiobook, and then I will like the audiobook so much that I will go out and buy the physical copy. And sometimes like some of the audiobooks, like this one right here, I listened to the audiobook. It's pretty much a first aid book, but also involving herbal medicines and stuff. So there's different like recipes and stuff like that. It's easier to get the physical copy also, so that way I have the formulas, I have like the tables and everything else. So I do have to say that a lot of my book recommendations come from audiobooks as well. And before I go further into that, so I hate how Audible has, and I understand why they did it. It used to be like you could download the individual books onto your computer and you'd always have them. You just have to open up the Audible app and on the computer, or program on the computer, and you can pull them up. And now they've gone to it, they only stream the books. So I found the Open Audible program software, which is free, and that will download all of your Audible audiobooks. Unfortunately, it downloads them into the format that's protected by Amazon still. So you still have to have something that plays them. The Open Audible program will play the Amazon format, but you can also buy their Pro Edition and convert all of them over to MP3 form instead. So that way you could actually share them with friends if you really wanted to and stuff. And actually, one of the books that I'm going to recommend, actually, you know what? I will go right into that one right now, is Broken Money by Lynn Alden. I have the physical copy and the audio copy. I listened to the audio first. As you guys know, everybody knows I'm a Bitcoiner. So it was actually recommended to me by Guy Swan from the Bitcoin Audible podcast, and what he's got, I don't even know how many different podcasts now, but he had recommended it to me because he's the narrator for the audio book, and so I listened to it, and it does talk about Bitcoin towards the very end. It actually, like, the last section actually talks about Bitcoin, but the whole, probably at least first half, maybe first 2/3 of it goes through the entire history of money and like currency and exchanges, just, the whole history of it. I am quite nerdy, and I do uh, like uh, factual books and history books and stuff like that. So I have no problem sitting down and listening to. I just listened to the whole textbook for my son's ancient history homeschool curriculum that he's going to do. I just listened to the whole audiobook, so it's a history book that is geared towards little kids or younger kids and stuff. But I love history just that much. So, but Broken Money by Lynn Alden. It's a really good book. Personally, like I said, I sort of prefer the audiobook version of it. The physical copy is nice because you have like all the tables that are mentioned in it. You have all the graphs that are mentioned in it, and it's just nice for like to go back and reference different stuff without actually sitting there and trying to find it in an audiobook clip or anything like that. But like I said, it starts out, talks about the history of money, like the people using shells and beads, and the I can't think of the name of the stones, but the island that used these like granite stones that they actually had to like multiple ton stones that they would bring over from an island that was like 200 miles away from their island, and they were like status symbols, but they were using the stones as pretty much currency. And it goes all the way into like how in the Diablo game, was it Diablo, or I think it was Diablo or Baldur's Gate. I think it was Diablo. The them trading trading like a gemstone that you would find instead of using like the actual like gold money from the RPG to actually transact in the game. So it talks about using just different stuff that was used as currency for different things. I mean, also talks about how different governments, different civilizations inflated their money. Like the fall of the Roman Empire was partially due to the fact that they were running out of money, so they would degrade their silver coinage further and further until finally they just collapsed. And yet the Byzantines, like the Eastern Roman Empire that were the Byzantines, kept their actual coinage more pure for a longer time, and that's why they lasted like an extra 1,000 years. So
That's because Hannibal Barca is an absolute fucking menace.
but yeah, it's just a really good. And then she doesn't necessarily go in. It isn't really a book that tries to persuade somebody into getting into Bitcoin. In fact, she talks about how she had watched Bitcoin for so many years, like from the point that she had first learned about it till the point that she finally said, you know what, okay, I'm gonna buy some Bitcoin. And like she is not in any way like an early adopter of Bitcoin. I think in the book, I don't think she had actually bought it until after COVID first strike or first struck, and she had been watching it since I think 2015. So, um, yeah, and she talks about other cryptocurrencies and stuff, and then, yeah, for the most part, it's a good book for somebody who's interested in like the monetary system that doesn't know much about the monetary system, because she breaks it down pretty much into an idiot's guide. So, but John,
Yes,
what do you have for your first book?
I have multiple.
Well, I think
But
we all have multiple books, but start
we
with just
shall
one.
we shall start with this.
The audio people can't read that, and the video people can only see backwards writing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
These
because you have everything inverted. You're the only one that has everything inverted, mind you. By the way,
mainly. Okay, I'll fix it up for next week. Okay.
I
here's the
just
thing.
realized that yeah.
But here's the thing: it's always been inverted. It's always been inverted. Just no one's ever noticed because we never had to read anything.
Okay. It is Rogue Warrior by Richard Marcinko. He was the founder of SEAL Team 6.
Did you say Road Warrior or Rogue Warrior?
Rogue.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Road Warrior, and I was like, oh, of course, something Australian.
This is how I met my wife, through his books. He has passed, unfortunately, but yeah, all of his books, well, Road Warrior, that's an autobiography. And the way he is in the books is the way he is in real life, or was in real life. I came out 2004 to meet the wife, and we went to a website reunion. It was on a military base in Bowling Green, Virginia. We had to go through security, and we got down to the lodge. And when we were driving up, I became very quiet. And Pat, my wife, said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I've never met the man. I don't know what he's going to say." Walked in the door, walked up to introduce myself, held my hand out to shake his hand. He said, "Fuck that," and just gave me a bear hug and said, "What's it like being on top of the world instead of down under?" And they found a carton of my beer,
Oh,
my
really?
Australian beer. Yeah. And he was true to life. He was, yeah, he named me the Duke.
The Duke?
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, he was, they actually did a video game of, what he did. And they when he retired, not retired, when he went into Red Cell, the Navy admiral tasked him to see how easy it was to break into military bases. They took ex-SEALs that were running the cameras, and holy shit, what they did was crazy.
It sounds like a good book. I may have to pick it up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm trying to remember to make a list of all the books that we're talking about tonight. So,
Well, I can put in my channel on our Discord page
yeah,
what
yeah,
authors.
do that also.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna I'm trying to make a list so that way we have it for the actual show notes as well. Sam,
Let's go with Casino Royale.
Yes.
We're gonna go with Casino Royale. The very much difference between the movie version of the Fleming, well, multiple movie versions of the Fleming novel, and the actual book is it's incredibly short. It's
Mhm.
it's not a very long book. Also, the Daniel Craig version they use Texas Hold'em, when in the book it's Baccarat. Uh, One, I think a wider audience understands Texas Hold'em a little bit better than Baccarat.
what year was the
But
book published? Also,
oh, it had to be
because
late 50s.
Yeah, because Baccarat was probably the big game back then.
Well, it probably is, but even then, it's still like not very American.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, back then Baccarat was probably the huge game, and now in the movie, nobody would understand Baccarat where they would understand Texas Hold'em.
I want to say late 50s.
Yeah.
Because I think the
1953.
53?
Yep.
Right, because I think the first one would be David Niven in like 61.
They're saying it was the first James Bond book.
It is. It is the very first. It's the very first in the series, and the first person portrayed James Bond is David Niven. And James Bond is based on amalgamation of like multiple people. One is Sir Christopher Lee.
And also Ian Fleming.
Yeah, a little bit. But physically, like in the physical form, it's Sir Christopher Lee.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it would be. I would just the whole series in general. I would consider most of them are relatively short by modern standards. We're talking sub 300 pages, something that
Yeah.
you could easily get through. If you're a semi decent reader, you could easily get through in an hour or two, maybe a couple hours at most.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be like this guy where it's 600 pages and the audiobook is probably 28 hours. An audiobook of Casino Royale would probably be 4. Yeah, that guy would take. Oh, first you picked that book. I knew you would pick that book.
I love that book.
We'll you get your chance to cover it now.
Okay, so next we're going to go into a fictitious book that really other than certain aspects of it, and actually, so for those of you on the audio right now, I have Atlas Shrugged on the video. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. This this is it's my favorite Ayn Rand book. Probably next would be The Fountainhead, but Atlas Shrugged. For those of you that don't know, it is it pretty much it. Ayn Rand is really against collectivism and really for the individualism, and especially entrepreneurs and people that are fighting the fighting the system of everybody has to conform to stupidity standards for the most part. And it follows the main character is Dagny Taggart, who is the vice president of her family's railroad that pretty much is the largest railroad in the United States. Back in I'm trying to remember, I guess it'd probably be focused on the 20s, roughly. And so she's the VP of operations. Her older brother, Jim, is the president of Taggart Continental Transit, and he is very much a collectivism socialist, and throughout the whole story, he's just trying to not nationalize his railroad, but nationalize everything else. And his friends in Washington, who are sniveling cowards and are portrayed as that in the book, they nationalize all kinds of other things. They are taking over patents. Her boyfriend, in the majority of the book, is invents like the best, strongest, lightest weight metal known to man, called Reardon metal. And it's like a miracle metal. In fact, when they take his patent, that's what they actually name it, is miracle metal. But they try to ruin him because they don't want him to have the patent. The government tries to ruin him and until they finally take the patent from him and stuff. And then just throughout the whole story, these industrialists, the people of the brain, the people of the mind, just eventually start to disappear. And her and Reardon are trying to, they nickname it the Destroyer, but the whole time there's this saying, and anytime somebody's down and out and has nothing else to say, they're like, who is John Galt? And everybody just assumes that this is just some saying. There's all kinds of rumors on like, there's all kinds of like mythical, magical stories of who John Galt is. Oh, he discovered the Fountain of Youth, but he couldn't bring it back. He found Atlantis, but he couldn't bring it back. And it turns out her childhood friend is best friends with the real John Galt. And he is one of the destroyers, one of the people that him, John Galt, and a pirate are taking on the rest of the world and pulling all the people of the mind out of society to let the stupidity take over society, so it ruins and resets society and everything. Now, I won't go too much into depth if you've never read it, but I definitely recommend the book. But when it comes to Galt's Gulch, honestly, really for the majority of the time that I've read this book, because I make it a point. I listen to the audiobook at least once a year for this book. I love this book so much. And I was thinking about it the last time I listened to it, and every other time I've been like, it'd be awesome if there was like a Galt's Gulch, and not to, constantly harp on this, but Noster is like the digital Galt's Gulch when you really think about it, because you got a lot of freedom loving, smart people that are building a decentralized social parallel to the current internet for the most part. It's funny because Dorsey's new app has just onboarded a ton of people onto Noster, and they have no idea that they got onto Noster. But and it's all Galt's Gulch is focused on using gold. They won't use fiat money. They won't use the US dollar. They won't use any other currency because it's all fake. It's not real money. So they use gold. Well, on Noster, we use Bitcoin. So it was sort of a real eye-opener to the fact that really Atlas Shrugged is sort of happening right now. So in real life. Although now I gave away the secret, and you're not allowed to talk about Galt's Gulch outside of Galt's Gulch. So, but that's my number 2. How about you, John? What is number 2 on your list?
Hell, we just got a spammer. Banhammer. Okay.
John, once again, we
No.
can't read what you're putting up.
I changed it.
It isn't showing up that way on Zoom still. You're still wearing a I can't even read we like shooting in backwards, so
I don't know why. I'll have to. Okay. It is E. Doc Smith. They call him the grandfather of science fiction. He's got at least 3 book series. One is Galactic Patrol. Lensman series. Another one is Del Meta or something like that. It's high-ranking secret agents. There's also several other books, and they are a great read. You can get them. I think you can get the whole Lensman series for about $30, and it's one. I think it's about 6 or 7 books.
that's cool. So wait, the book that you just held up was that from one of the series, or is that like a biography? Which
Galactic Patrol was in the Lensman series.
Okay.
It's book 2, I think, of the series.
Okay.
It's supposedly about in the future, the law enforcement have a bracelet which gives them telepathic powers. And there's a super race of beings that type of guide these people or these law enforcement. It's interesting.
It sounds like it. Sam.
Oh, let's go with. My wife is currently in love with the Game of Thrones.
The movie or the books? Or both?
She's reading the book right now. She watched the whole series. She's reading the book right now. And I will say, at minimum, value for money of what you can get the paperback for versus the content of the book. A Story of Fire and Ice, you can typically get it for about $11, and it's a good on 700 some odd pages. The audiobook comes in at like 33 hours. So for value for money, I would say it relatively popular.
Honestly, I mean, when it comes to, video of books, it's almost impossible for the movie or TV to ever do what
Very
the
difficult.
books can do.
It's very difficult because yet again, you're talking like except for the case of like early Fleming novels and stuff like that, because the novels aren't very big at all in general. You could, like for example, Casino Royale. It's around 300 pages. You could easily, like, to the point where in a movie you're starting to kind of having to might have to throw some things in just to make some things make sense. But the problem with Fleming is he's incredibly descriptive, almost to a fault.
Yeah.
But it's wild that the man that wrote the James Bond novels also wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So I would go with that, or I would go with the Thief Lord. The Thief Lord is a fantastic novel. It's a
We'll save that
geared...
for number 4.
Yeah, let me pull the author for that.
And I will go into my number 3, which is a full book series, a very, very, very long book series that I just brought. This is the second 3 trilogy part of it, the actual full book series. So it's Dragonlance. It is from not really from the Dungeons and Dragons realm. It's part of the same thing for the most part. Dungeons and Dragons, you have Dungeons, and if any of you are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, you have Dungeons and Dragons, which is the parent game itself, and then you have different realms off of Dungeons and Dragons. One being Forgotten Realms, which, if you're familiar with the Boulder Gate video game series, that's based off of Forgotten Realms somewhat. You have Dragonlance, which is the world of Kryn. And then there was the Ravenloft, which was sort of more of like the... what would it be? It'd be like the... probably like the 18th and 19th century almost. More of like a Transylvania feel to it and stuff. A less popular series from Dungeons and Dragons, but all of it originated from Dungeons and Dragons, and TSR was the original publisher. They since went out of business. Wizards of the Coast took them over and everything. But the Dragonlance series, so the history of Dragonlance is the original authors of it would be Margaret Wise and Tracy Hickman. And I'm not entirely sure if Margaret was actually involved in the game or if she was. So what it was I know for sure Tracy Hickman was playing a like a sidestep version of Dungeons and Dragons with some different creatures that he had made up with friends and everything. Actually, I'm pretty sure that Margaret was probably there, because after TSR went under and Wizards of the Coast took over, Wizards of the Coast did not take over the game settings for Dragonlance or Ravenloft, and Margaret Wise and her husband ended up coming out with their own game company based on the D20 system of Dungeons and Dragons, and they released campaign settings for Dragonlance and Ravenloft. But so anyways, so Dragonlance, it starts out with the Chronicles series, which follows a group of friends that they meet up after being away from each other for 5 years, and they end up getting thrown into, like, they're all meeting up at this tavern or inn in their hometown, and they each parted 5 years earlier, sort of on their own quests. One is trying to find his father, who was a knight that had to send him and his mother into hiding when he was a small child and everything. So he went in search of his father, any information on his father. There's twins, which this is the book. It'd be technically books 4 through 6 if you were to read the actual chronological order, but it's 2 twins. One is a big muscle warrior, and the other one is a frail mage. And they just sort of were going out to try to experience the world and get hired in as like mercenaries in different places. The mage ended up going and being tested to actually become a mage at one of the towers of high sorcery in the world. And then there is a Kender, which would be sort of a halfling. They're child people. They'd be close to what a hobbit would be for the most part. Only everybody's afraid of them because they're childlike, like mentally and everything, and physically. But they pickpockets. Like, they have no concept of ownership at all. So they'll just randomly they'll brush against somebody or something, or they'll be like sitting at a table and they're like, I know I have, here's a handkerchief or something, and they hand you a handkerchief, and it turns out that it's your handkerchief and stuff, and they're like, and you're like, you stole that from me. No, I must have found this. I meant to return it to you and stuff. Like, they have no concept of ownership at all. So it's a Kender by the name of Tasselhoff. And then I'm trying to remember all the characters. The knight is Sturm. There's a half elf, half man. His name is Tanis, or what, I can't even pronounce his actual elven name, but his mother was the king of one of the elven realms. The king's sister-in-law, her husband was killed in a war, and he took on, and during the war she was raped by a human mercenary and ended up having Tanis the half-elf. Well, the king of that realm of elves ended up bringing them into his household, and then when she died, I believe she died during childbirth, he ended up adopting Tanis into the family and everything. And then there is a dwarf, this grumpy old dwarf that's the oldest among all of them, and he's like a blacksmith. And anyways, so they all meet up after 5 years. They get thrown into a whole nother adventure, because when the Sturm the Knight joins with them and stuff, escorting uh, he's escorting two barbarians, a woman and a man, and the woman has this like staff that turns out to be in disguise, but it's this magical staff from the gods. The gods have been, everybody has believed that the gods had left the world, and the staff is a sign that the gods are actually still in the world, and she is to bring back the gods back to the world of people or mortals or whatever. And the evil empire, or the queen of darkness, the evil god, Tikhisis, is building armies of evil dragons and trying to take over the world and re-enter the world and everything, and they're looking for this staff, and she ends up accidentally not realizing it, but the god of good, Paladin, is in disguise in the inn at the time and gets this group into trouble, and they're running for their lives, and they end up starting this whole quest to take down the queen of darkness, the evil god, the Tikhisis and stuff, all because the good gods threw them into it. And the whole book series, so it starts out with the first three books, the Chronicles, then it goes into the Legend series, which is after, because the Chronicles are specifically the War of the Lance, which is where they bring the gods back into the world and defeat Tikhisis and send her back into the abyss and everything. And the Legend series it follows the twins, because the mage Raceland, he was supposed to be just like this second-hand character originally, but he ended up becoming one of the lead main characters among the whole series. There's probably 100 books to the whole series, but he ended up taking on to the point where the end of this series, the Legends series, he is trying to take Queen Tikhisis's role as the Queen of Darkness. He's trying to knock her out and become a god and stuff. And it doesn't end well for him. We'll just say that. But self-inflicted. He actually sacrifices himself to save the world. So it goes to that, and then there is after this in the original timeline, because they have actually since added more books into the timeline that go in between the three Chronicle books. There's actually 3 new books that take place in between each of the Chronicle books. Yeah, you can hear my audience in the background. Yeah. So it's a great, if you like fantasy books, and I'm not talking 50 Shades of Grey fantasy for John down there or anything like that, but if you like dragons and knights and sword fighting and blood and gore and all that stuff, it's a good series. So just start out with the Chronicles, though. Don't just randomly jump into one of the books, because some of them you'd be really lost. So, John, what do you got for another one?
Okay. Clive Cussler. He unfortunately has passed away, but he's written multiple books with different main characters. One of them is about a group of mercenaries that their headquarters is an old a steamer, but on the inside, it's a massive intelligence gathering. And they go all over working for people, mostly US government, where they can't go in, these guys do. But they are an awesome read. The title of that series was The Oregon Files. At one stage, there was talk of a TV show about it, but nothing ever happened. I actually met the gentleman many years ago at a book signing. He was an hilarious gentleman. He used to live in Colorado, and he had a massive car collection.
Yeah, you keep choosing books of dead people. Just kidding.
I can't help it.
I'm just kidding. Don't worry, my next one is a dead person, so.
Right. Last one I have, Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein.
I haven't read the
Now-
book, but the movie.
Now, if you're expecting the movie, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Because it is nothing like the movie. Oh. It is infinitesimally better than the movie because you don't have some dickhead director putting his own bullshit into it.
Fair enough.
However, it is hilarious that Mr. Krabs stabs a dude. Well, throws a knife into a dude. Clancy Brown, for anyone that doesn't know, is the voice of Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob.
God, I'm trying to remember who Clancy Brown is.
The thing is, if you saw him, you'd go, "Oh, I know that guy."
That is one of those books that I have wanted to read, and I just have.
Also, relatively short.
Yeah. See, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like I got such a list of books that I want to read. I mean, I honestly I could probably go on all night long with books that I like, that I recommend, but we don't have time.
No, but for Starship Troopers follows your, you know, it was written in the 50s after the nuclear program in the United States was, shut off to the point of which it's shut off.
Yeah.
But it's a very much a part of its time, but at the same time, it kind of foretold a little bit of, hey, these are issues that are going to be issues in the future. And, one of those like juvenile delinquency. Well, look at DC.
Yep.
This is stuff that was foretold. And as much as I say that Demolition Man is no longer just a fiction film, it's starting to become, hey, some of this stuff is starting to become like, this is getting a little too close to home.
Yep.
Idiocracy is the same way.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that film is like, hey, this is certain. Some of this stuff's getting just a little too close to become for comfort.
In the prologue to Atlas Shrugged. Now, keep in mind, this book was wrote in. Oh, what year did she write it?
Ah.
I'm trying to remember. God,
I know, like, Ayn Rand is one of the patron saints for like libertarianism,
Yeah.
but most people don't. But most libertarians, unfortunately, don't understand a fuck all what she
Oh yeah,
wrote.
1957
Yeah, so like
is when it was wrote, and I'm trying to remember when they actually, because the prologue is, I believe the prologue that's for this book, because this is like an anniversary book, and I believe, if I remember correctly, or maybe the prologue in for the audiobook, I don't know. Ayn Rand talks about it, I think 20 years. I think she's talking about it 20 years after she had wrote the book. Um, she's doing the prologue for the audiobook, and so we're still talking about like the 70s, and everything that she's talking about in it, and hell, in this book itself, it's like, are we sure that she's not still alive, and like this is just like not last week that she's talking about? Like everything just fits in. But yeah, so I understand that for sure.
right, and so Starship Troopers 58. So he probably started about 56, 57. So a very similar time period.
Yeah.
You know, you've got that post World War II, post Korea, where, oh shit, we drop bombs on Japan, drop nukes on Japan. What are we gonna do on Korea? Are we gonna bomb the 43rd parallel?
Yeah.
No, like.
So my next one is one that, so Jack Spirko talked about it as being one of his favorite books ever, and finally I had to, I downloaded the audiobook. I don't have a physical book, but it is Death in the Long Grass by Peter Hathaway Capstick. Now, he is pretty much what it is it is nonfiction talking about deadly big game animals from his years as a great white hunter in Africa, which was, I believe, in the, if I remember correctly, the late 60s through the 70s, if I remember correctly. But he talks about how he went to school to be an accountant, hated being an accountant, so he quit that and got into safari hunting, like as a guide, safari hunter over in, or I guess it'd be a hunting guide over in Africa, in Rhodesia and different, just all over Africa. And also he did stuff in South America as well. And he just talks about the different, he breaks down the book into the different animals. He starts out with lions, and he talks pretty much about like just it's wild stories from his days hunting, and being one with sort of nature as a great white hunter, or a white hunter is what their designation is, or was at the time, is because the guides were generally white, I guess you could say. So they were referred to as white hunters. And that was their legal designation by the governments. of these different countries that they would hunt in, or that they would guide hunts in and stuff. And he just talks about, you know, how dangerous all these animals were. Like literally, and it's just it's an awesome book, and it goes through. He talks about starts out with lions, and pretty much how dangerous lions are, just horribly dangerous. He talks about, I'm trying to remember what he went into. I know he talks about lions, crocodiles, Cape buffalo, elephants, snakes, scorpions, just different dangerous creatures that are throughout Africa. Lions being number one, and elephants probably being number two. Like he gets into how he was one of the hunters that did like the elephant culling, when they started to cull the herds of elephants. Because so what was happening, the reasoning behind the culling of the elephants was mostly because the elephants were in such high numbers, and they were losing. And I'm trying to remember, because it's been a little while since I read the book, but it pretty much boils down to elephants just like devastate the areas that they are grazing in, for the most part. Like an elephant can kill like 5 trees a day by stripping them of all of their bark, branches, leaves, everything. And the herds were just constantly growing, and they were starting to get big into like urban areas, or more urban or more population centers. And the thing with elephants are, like, I didn't realize just how deadly elephants were. Elephants like to grab people and use their trunk to grab onto the people and whip people until they were a pile of goo into any hard surface that they could find. Ant mounds were their favorite thing to bash people into and stuff, and then grind them into the ground. And the majority of the time, it's funny because, I guess it isn't funny. Elephants would bury their victims.
Yeah, if an elephant has a beef with you,
Oh yeah,
that's it. There's a story of a South American or a Asian elephant where this lady messed with an elephant. She died. The elephant then went to her funeral.
And keep in mind, Asian elephants are the small ones.
Yes. Like, and that's the thing, is they're not even like. The thing is, like, we're not even talking about the most dangerous creature in Africa.
No.
Like lions are relatively not that dangerous in Africa, all things considered.
They're the oh, and I forgot, leopards. He also talks about leopards.
Yeah, leopards aren't all that dangerous.
No, leopards didn't generally kill, but they would seriously maim you and handicap
you any big cat could flatline you.
The lions though would kill you. If they got you, they would kill you.
But a black buffalo will kill you more likely.
The Cape buffalo,
yeah,
like
Cape
I didn't realize how dangerous they were, but they were they're like one of the top killers and stuff.
Hippos.
Hippos, yep. He really didn't, like, he talks a little bit about
But
hippos, but
hippos are like #1 killer in Africa, all things considered.
yeah.
Hippos
Well,
kill more
if you're
people.
around water sources, though, for the most part.
Like, you think, oh, this thing, like, if you actually see a skull of a hippo.
Oh, and he talks about
What-
rhinos too. So.
Right, yeah, well, right.
They're
Like,
just-
if you actually see a skull of a hippo, like the actual like stripped skull, and then you see an actual hippo, you go, those two don't belong to each other.
Yeah.
It looks fucking alien.
Well, and hippos, he talks about hippos, but he never hunted. Hippos weren't like a sport creature.
That makes
like
sense.
they were. So when every year when they would start their hunts for the year, they would get so many passes to kill so many different creatures to use as bait. And hippos were one of the ones that they were like, we'll kill it and then we'll move it to where we want to bait something in. And that's what they would do. And he said it was
that's pretty sketchy because hippos they're dangerous goddamn creatures.
Well, not when you're hitting them with a 450 from
Okay, listen, if you're hunting in Africa with a 450 Bushmaster,
no, not a 450 Bushmaster, absolutely.
You're talking like 500 nitro, 600 nitro, 700 nitro, 375 H&H. You're talking with something with some fucking ass.
Yes. I'm not saying the 450 that we know and no. I'm talking like African
Magnum?
game round type. I can't remember what rifle it is specifically that he's, and everything that they have there, they're usually using single shot or double or two
side by side.
Side by side or single shot. I mean,
something with some fucking ass.
Yeah, and I think it was a 450 something. I can't remember what it was. But he said the problem with hippos are it would take you a day to roll a hippo 50 yards after you killed it and stuff.
They're heavy as shit.
So you were trying to kill them and then move them someplace relatively close to bait something in, relatively close to wherever you killed the hippo. But yeah, no, it's
what does he have to say about giraffes?
He didn't do giraffe hunting at all.
Really?
He didn't talk about it at all. He was mostly talking about like sort of like
closer to dangerous game.
Yeah, well the equation of, okay, you are in the deadliest realm of the world, as far as you are not only the hunter but you are also the prey. And how so many people would go out there to hunt something and then they end up themselves death in the long grass and stuff. And it pretty much all comes down to that. And it's just like it's really eye-opening. It makes you rethink Africa, I guess you could say, because honestly, I never really pictured Africa as being anything that I ever really wanted to go visit or anything. Because when I think of Africa, I think of prairie and I think of desert. Now, I do know that there is jungle in Africa as well. And I know that there's rainforest in Africa and everything else, mountains and stuff. But when I think of Africa, those are the two things that most take over in my mind. And prairie, in my mind, always was very, I don't want to say boring, but boring, really, because all I can think of is tall grass and sparse trees and hot sun. And he makes it out to being like, this is like the old west of modern days, and uh, just it's just pretty cool, his stories, how he cheated death so many times, everything. And he was not killed big game hunting. I think he died of old age or probably smoking or something, who knows. But yeah, it's just a good story if you like to read stories of, I mean, it isn't even stories about hunting. Well, it's stories about hunting, but it's just like stories about his experiences. Like, he had to hunt a man eater leopard. I mean, it ate a child and stuff, and uh, the local authorities tasked him with going and finding this man eater and disposing it, because since he was a white hunter, they were sort of like considered the game wardens almost of these different regions of Africa. If something came up and the authorities couldn't do anything about it, contact they would contact these big game hunting organizations, find out whether they had like a white hunter in the area or in the region and stuff, and then they would contact those white hunters and be like, hey, we need you to go investigate this bachelor party in one case where in the middle of the night, a lioness came up, grabbed one of the drunk men and dragged him off in the middle of the night, and all there was a blood trail to follow and stuff. And
That's some Ghost in the Darkness level of energy.
yeah, and his native um, porters, I guess you could say, had to drive out to this village in the middle of nowhere and investigate this death and hunt down the man eater that did it and stuff. But like, he talked about these different stories, and like when he was culling elephants, um one night him and his partner tried this flare technique that they had read about in the early days, and they shot a flare up in the middle of the night in the middle of this herd, and they had to specifically target certain elephants, because if you don't get these certain elephants and you pick off the wrong elephants, then those elephants are going to lead the rest of the elephants to murder your ass and stuff. So you had to get those certain elephants and everything. Well, they pop a flare in the middle of the night, and all the elephants just look up and are just froze in the middle of the night, staring at this flare in the sky, and they're sitting there popping off all these elephants, and the rest of the herd has, like, they're completely oblivious to these rifles going off all around them, and they're walking through these elephants doing this. So, but, and I mean, he lists some pretty good reasoning, but he also lists why he just got to the point where he just couldn't take culling elephants anymore and stuff. So, but, which I don't blame him. Anyway, I'll John, do you got anything else? Got any more books?
Clancy.
What?
Tom Clancy. He wrote some amazing books. One of them was Hunt for Red October. So the story goes, when the movie was released, they had a screening at the White House, and all the high military brass was there. After the movie, some of the Navy brass came up and said, how did you know all this he pulled out Jane's book of military type of thing. He said this, this, and this. They couldn't believe that he got so much information out of the books. I've watched 3 of the movies from the books. The only one that is 90% is Hunt for Red October. The rest was pure garbage.
Yeah. Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games I
Nothing
read
like
for high
Patriot
school.
Games is good.
Yep.
Clear and Present Danger, just for the vibe of, using an Olympia 093A, the use of an Olympia 093A by
It's been so long since it's been 25 years since I read those, but I just love those books.
The use of Olympia 093A is just such a interesting use of a firearm choice by a wet work guy. It's such a weird choice because it's such a weird AR-15 derivative. But Hunt for Red October is also the movie is hilarious for the simple fact of you have Sam Neill, pretty solid Russian accent. Okay, good. You then have, by pure contrast, Sean Connery, who doesn't even fucking try.
Nope, not at all.
barely even fucking tries. We're talking Genghis Khan. We're talking John Wayne as Genghis Khan level of just not fucking trying.
Yep.
I love Sean Connery.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Some of All Fears.
Yep. That was
one of the newer ones that they did as a movie. That was fine. Liev Schreiber was pretty fantastic in it. Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman, solid. They did do some newer ones that were like a series that was a little iffy at best. But I think overall, when it comes to movie into book, Patriot Games, well, one, because you have Sean Bean. You can't go wrong with Sean Bean in a film.
Not a hope.
See, I can't even remember if I ever watched the movie for Patriot Games. I think I watched Clear and Present Danger.
That's the worst out of all of them.
Yep.
But when I watched it in probably the early 90s. So, I watched it 35 years ago.
The thing is, if you watched the movies before you read the book, you'd think the movie was great. But if you read the book, then watch the movie.
Well, yeah, and that's the case. That's the case with just about every. Honestly, I wasn't disappointed with. Why can't I think of it? Ender's Game, the movie. After watching that, after reading the book series, I read the book series, and then they came out with the Ender's Game movie, and I watched that, and it's just there's only so much that they could fit into the time frame that they made the movie, and I really wish that they had made the sequel to it, because honestly, the sequel to the book, Speaker of the Dead, is probably the best one of that actual book series. And I really wish they had done that, but so often it's like the like if you read the book before you watch the movie, you're going into the movie expecting the book, and they can they can never make the movie they can never make the movie as good as the book ever.
True.
Where if you watch the movie first and then read the book, you can see where and see more why they couldn't fit everything into it. Stuff.
Yeah, but sometimes you look at what they've put in the movie, and it's 5%
Yeah,
of the book.
that's true too. I mean, it's like the Jurassic Park series of books. What is it? I can't even think. Lost World and I'm trying to think. Lost World was the second one. I can't remember what the third one was. But when you look at the books compared to the movies, it's almost like parts of each one of those movies should have been like swapped between the two books and the movies. Like stuff that happened in one of the movies happened in the third book. Like stuff that happened in the second movie happened in the third book, and stuff that happened in the third book happened in the second movie, or whatever. You know what I mean? It was like, what the hell? But the books were awesome. Yeah, it's it's so hard. I know I watched Hunt for Red October right after it came out, but I mean, it came out in what, 89, I think. I'm trying to remember.
Well, Alec Baldwin was still skinny and had all of his hair. So
I'm trying to remember. I want to say Hunt for Red October came out in 89, 90. I feel like it was right around that time frame. I could be wrong. I know you guys are looking it up with your fast hands.
1990.
Okay, came out in 90. Yeah. Yeah. So I think I watched it in probably 91 cuz I didn't watch it in theater. I mean, I know my mom wouldn't have taken me to it, and I don't think my dad took it to me. I think I watched it when it came out on VHS at the rental place and stuff.
Yeah, but that's like just Tom Clancy in general. It's going to be something that's going to be relatively difficult for someone that can't. You have to really, really, really pay attention.
And honestly, I can't. Like, I don't know if Clancy wrote was it Rainbow Six?
Yep.
Yes.
Did he write it, or did one of his ghostwriters wright it?
He wrote it.
Okay. Well, because that was absolute garbage in my opinion. I mean, it could be because by the time I read it, I had already been like, I read like, you know, like 3 of the different Delta Force books and stuff, like between Beckwith's actual book and Haney's book, and listen to podcasts with like God, I can't think of his name offhand. Viking Tactical. I can't think of his name offhand now, but like I'd read enough and heard enough from actual operators from Delta Force. I had heard enough from Rangers, read enough stuff from Rangers, read enough stuff and heard enough stuff from SEALs and stuff that by the time I actually read Rainbow Six, which I bought Rainbow Six when it came out. I bought the book when it came out, brand new. Well, I shouldn't say when it came out. When it was first come out on paperback. I bought the paperback, and before the video games ever were even a thought. And I got, I think, 1 chapter into it, and then just never really finished it. got sort of bored with the first chapter, and just recently, I think last year or the year before, I finally read Rainbow Six, and after listening to real operators and stuff, I just thought it was the cheesiest damn book that of like a military fiction that could come out.
Well, so that proves in the dichotomy of the way Tom Clancy works. Is in you have the Ryan verse, which is the books that center around Jack Ryan, and then where you have like Rainbow Six that follows around Clark.
Yeah.
Clark is the Wetworks guy. Ryan is the intelligence guy.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. Is you have this Wetworks guy that I think Clancy has more of an idea about the intelligence guy than he does about the Wetworks guy.
Yeah, because even
the operators, these operator books, these are typically that understand wet work as what we're going with is like, hey, because people that go in and they're stacking bodies.
Yeah, I mean, and same with like was it Kill Vanish. I'm trying to remember what book, what the name of the book is, which is talks about pretty much Surprise Kill Vanish by Annie Jacobson, which talks about the history of like CIA like Wetworks and stuff like that, and it talks to ex-operators of the CIA and stuff, and I read that even before Rainbow Six, and it's just like, well, shit. I'm hearing stuff from actual, CIA operatives and stuff, and like, yeah, some of the stuff that they did was like, wow, but not like holy fantasy warrior type wow shit. And I mean, nowadays you buy a Tom Clancy, any modern Tom Clancy book, Tom Clancy hasn't wrote in decades.
Well, he's dead, so.
Oh yeah. I mean now they continue the Tom Clancy line, but they have ghostwriters writing everything under his name. So
there's some, or they call them collaborative works, where they might take some of his notes that he had and then expunge upon it. Yeah. They did the same thing with Tolkien, and they've done the same thing with a lot of writers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the Dragonlance series, the original authors, like they're still alive. They've wrote other stuff other than Dragonlance, but then like the actual Dragon, like they wrote the original, I guess the main timeline of Dragonlance. There's probably I think there's probably 15 books now to it. 15, maybe more than that. I'm trying to remember. Chronicles, Legends, Second Generation, Summer. The Moons. Anyway, there's like 20 other authors that write side stories and preludes and everything else for that series, that sort of fills in the gap of different things, because the whole timeline you're going through the lifespan, the full timeline you're talking of the main books is over the course of about 300 years. So, because, oh no, maybe 200 years, because I believe at the end of the Vanishing Moons, or the Age of Mortals, trilogy, I believe one of the main character elves is 200 years old, and it started out before. Well, yeah, I guess it started out 30 years before him, so he was born. So, but anyway, you guys got anything else? Okay. Well, until next week, I'd like to remind everybody to find us on Instagram, find us on Noster. All three of us are on Noster. As you can see from my little sticker in my, if you're on the video, Facebook, Instagram is controlled by Mark. Twitter or Zitter or X is controlled by Elon. Noster is controlled by you. So find us on Noster. We're also on Instagram, just because the Zuck has not zucked us yet. And also make sure to follow or subscribe to us on your podcatcher of choice. I highly recommend the Fountain.fm app. And also make sure to join our Discord. Talk to us in the Discord. And until next week, this is Luke.
John.
And Sam.
And keep your powder dry. Thank you, everybody.
Recording stopped.
And we are clear.